What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Tyler Perry's Sistas. This is season 5, episode 6. Episode is titled Keep It 100. And let's jump right into the review. So, the ladies are at Fatima's house. They're having small talk, and Andy finds out who Madam is. Madam is the owner of Club Eden, and of course, Andy mentions how her and her girls were just there. Um, that wasn't just there because that was a whole season ago, but according to Tyler Perry's timeline, it was probably about 3 weeks ago. Whatever. So they go over to the couch, and this is where things got weird for me. So Madam is like, "Why am I here, Fatima?" And Fatima is like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "The last time you caught me, I had to tie some guy to his car or whatever." And of course, she's talking about Hayden. So Andy's like, "Oh, you were behind that?" She is like, "Yeah." And for some reason, it got really weird to where nobody wanted to mention or say anything else about Madam. And Madam's like, "Well, I'm just going to sip my wine." I'm like, "What are you saying?" And then she's like, "Well, me and Fatima used to be real close until, she wanted to go legit." Basically saying that Fatima, she wanted to do things the legal way and Madam didn't. But I'm like, y'all still not saying anything. Like, legal in what aspect? Or I should say illegal in what aspect, because I just want to know what was Fatima into before she decided that she was going to go further and like study law and become a lawyer at some point. Please let me know what Fatima was doing, y'all. So, Madam also finds out that Andy is an attorney, and we already know that she's going to have to be an attorney probably for Madam at some point. But let's hop on over to Karen's house, where this conversation is supposed to be happening. So, they've had dinner, and Zach is ready to go at this point. He's been waiting there for over an hour, and only thing that they've done is eat food. He's ready to discuss whatever they need to discuss and move on. And it's funny because Karen is like, you can't even spare an hour of your time. And it's like, girl, he don't want to be nowhere near you. Zach is no longer interested in anything you have going on. So, of course, Karen's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But her mom is like, no, you have to do it. You're going to do it. And of course, she's referring to the stupid letters. So at one point, Zach jumps up as if he's about to leave, and Karen is like, that's what he is usually doing. That's what he does. And I'm just like, Karen, it's funny how you say all these negative things about Zach and how he's trifling and how, this is what he usually does, just up and leave, but you still chasing after him. You still want him. You're popping up at his home unannounced. And it's like you were doing all of this and you still chasing after this man, and he is not showing you any signs that he wants you. Talk about being desperate. But of course, her mom knows nothing about any of that. And also, not to mention, I am so sick of them talking about how, oh, Karen can be stressed out. Don't stress her out. Again, Karen, you put yourself in this situation. So, girl, be prepared for the stress. So, her mom is like, Karen has these letters and she's basically going to read them aloud. And I was so confused. I was like, wait, I thought she was going to hand each guy a letter, let them read it to themselves, and then got a response. Not read her feelings out loud so that both of the men can hear what she had to say and judge it. But I guess this is Karen's mom's method. So let's just go ahead and talk about what's in these letters. She's going to start with, of course, Aaron. So Karen talks to Aaron about how, when they first got together, he came into her life at a strange time and how it was very messy when they got together because, of course, it was all the drama with his ex wife, how she thought they were doing way more than what they were doing. We learned that Karen never trusted this man and how even though he has been extremely consistent, he has checked on her, he's done all these nice things for her, he's been everything that she wants in a man. Or should I say, in Zach. I'm just like, way to shut that man down. Now, while all this is happening, Zach is just a twitching and turning in his seat. So Karen is going on about how she has been emotionally damaged. She wished that she would have met Aaron first so that he could have basically got a better woman and all this stuff. And I'm just like, yikes. At one point, she was definitely throwing her digs at Zach for sure about how she fell in love with a fool, all this stuff, right? And then she ends the speech by saying that she loves him, but she's not in love with him. And I'm like, burn. My gosh. Now, I will say, Zach jumped up a few times because he's like, what is this? Like, why does he have to sit through this? I will say that was pretty harsh to hear, especially when it came to the part where she kind of like took a few digs at him, how he treated her in her previous relationship, and all this stuff. But I'm just like, here's the thing, Karen. What made you the woman that you are today is not only the relationship that you had with Zach, it's a lot of the other relationships that you had before. Like, I think all that accumulates to who you are, especially when you've been in toxic relationships for years. You know what I'm saying? So let's just go ahead and get to this response. Oh wait, before that, she does say how she doesn't know if she's ever gonna love anybody else because she's so in love with Zach, blah blah blah. So, Aaron he responds that he understands or whatever, and Karen's mom is like, "You understand?" He's like, "Yeah, I do because I felt that way before." And here goes her mom talking about love and a circuit breaker, and I said, "All right, I need for us to go to another scene because this was getting pretty lengthy, and I don't know what she's talking about with this circuit breaker." Okay, now y'all, let's hop on over to this scene with Robin meeting Paris for the first time. Hell, I thought Paris didn't even work there no more, but nonetheless, y'all, Paris is back. We'll see how long this lasts, but he comes into the office or whatever. He didn't know nobody was there. And he just, came to get the trash. So Robin is like, "Oh, who are you?" or whatever. He's like, "Oh, I'm Paris." And they sort of have small talk about how, Robin is now over the firm. But then he asks him about Andy. And Paris is basically like, Andy's way out of my league. And I'm just like, Robin, how whack are you? You mean to tell me that you stayed at work extra late just so you can get a glimpse of Paris to see what your it's not even competition. I can't even say that. To see, what type of guy Paris was that Andy ended up sleeping around with? Dude, buy you a hobby. Don't you have many more cases to work on or, something else to do? Maybe another threesome with some random chicks? Anything else besides waiting on Paris? That is weird. Alright, so now we see Danny. She is on this date with this guy. I still don't know what his name is, but whatever. Here's the thing. I don't see it for this man. I really don't. Especially considering it seems like he was only interested in having a one night stand with her. Or am I tripping? Like his whole energy was giving, "Oh, since I paid for dinner and she's a pretty woman, I'm about to go ahead and get these cheeks." Or am I tripping, y'all? Let me know. But I don't see it for him. That was pretty much what was going on for them. Let's hop on over to Fatima's house. Alright, so um, they're having small talk about where Zach is, and then they're like, "Okay, Andy, tell her your problem." And Angela's like, "Listen, with this situation, there are big favors that are going to be requested of you." And Fatima's like, "I already told her about that." So Andy goes on to tell her about how she has a friend, of course, in jail. She can't get any information. Y'all, Madam already knew. So, "Oh, you talking about Sabrina Hollins?" I said, "How does she already know?" Now, here's my thing, y'all. If she already knows who Sabrina is, and she clearly already knows what went down with the bank, my question is she really going to help them? Because I have yet to watch All the Queen's Men, but I heard that she was actually related to old boy who used to work at the bank. So I'm like, yo, Sabrina got old boy fired, so is she actually gonna help or not? So, Madam goes to go get her phone. Cool. So next thing you know, Andy's like, maybe we need to talk about this, these favors, all this stuff. And Angela keeps wanting to spill the beans. And then Fatima kept shutting her down. It was definitely given how Tyler writes for the girls to always shut Danny down when she wants to say something. So Madam comes back. She hands Andy a card, like, call this person. They'll be able to get you in and talk to Sabrina tomorrow. They have a recording of somebody by the name of Maurice. He said they were both in on it. And oh yeah, she's at the county jail. And Andy's like, oh, so like, who's your contact? So she goes on about how there's this judge who likes one of her dancers, blah, blah, blah. And here we go again with this big secret of who is Madam, what does Madam do, all this stuff. Because she's like, oh, you didn't tell her, Fatima? I'm like, could y'all just spill the beans? I'm tired of waiting at this point. So let's talk about what we found out, y'all. Madam finally opens up and says, I'm a gangster. I said, oh, that's it? That's all? Okay. So she lets Andy know that, she's a gangster and how she handles her business, basically. So she asks Andy what type of lawyer she was. Of course, Andy is a damn divorce attorney. And she's like, what can I do with that? So it's funny because this whole time, Andy goes into her. Andy does this act where she acts very like, "Oh my god, is that really what's happening?" It's like this really like naiveness about. I don't even know if naiveness is a word, but she acts really naive about what's going on in the situation. It's like Loki giving Sabrina, and I'm just like, Andy, cut it out. You should already know that you're dealing with somebody who has some type of weight around the city if they can make one phone call and get you information that you couldn't even get. So Andy gets a phone call, she steps out, right? And Madam is basically telling Fatima, like, if you came back to the club and worked for me, then you would be making so much more money. But Fatima is not going for it. And Angela, of course, she has Fatima's back, so she's going to try to help her change the subject. Now, this has them talk about the whole Zach situation. And I guess at some point, Madam has known some information about what's going on with Zach and Fatima. Now, I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to be in season 2 of Fatima, but I will say this is the first time of us learning that her and Madam are even related. So they talk about how Zach was invited over by Karen's mom. Oh, and how Fatima was invited over as well. Madam, her whole point is, oh yeah, we need to go over there. Well, you need to go over there and set her straight. I can't lie, I kind of agree because Karen has been out of line quite a few times with Fatima. So let's hop on over to Andy. So she finally answers that phone call, and it was Robin. And he's like, Andy, I was wrong, all this stuff, but baby, Andy put her foot down. She's like, if this is not about work, then I don't want to hear it. And he's like, meet me at the steam plant. And she actually gets off the phone with him. I was surprised by it because we've seen Andy cave into men multiple times. But I was actually proud of her for standing on her own and standing on her word. Now, we'll see if she actually doesn't go to the steam plant, but that's what happened so far. All right, y'all. So now we have Calvin coming home, and Q is in Maurice's house yet again. This right here was an unnecessary scene. I was absolutely over it from the start of it because we are having the same conversation with Q. We have Calvin keep saying that he needs to, leave. He keeps saying, how do you live with yourself? How are you this person? Blah, blah, blah. Now we have Q talk about how he's a gangster, how he's a thug. And then he goes on to talk about how Calvin, he lost that fight at the bank and how Calvin uses a vibrator, all this stuff. I'm like, how do you even know this information? Now, according to him, Maurice told him. But I'm just like, dang, how much pillow talking was Maurice doing? Because, like, how does Calvin and a vibrator even come up in conversation? You know what I'm saying? Now, this whole situation, I was over it because, again, you have Q basically saying that he would hook up with Calvin, and Calvin's not interested in that. And I'm over it. I'm over the gay humor of Calvin possibly hooking up with a guy. We need something else. Calvin gets pissed off. He grabs his things and he leaves. And I'm like, Calvin, at this point, you might as well just go ahead and move out because I would not trust freaking Q with any of my things in my house, especially since this is the same man who tried to steal your checkbook and write a check out to himself so that he can cash. Y'all remember that? I don't trust Q. But let's move on. We go back to Fatima's. Annie comes in and says that she's going to head out. So she leaves and the ladies are still talking. And, they basically talk about Fatima and Zach yet again. And what happens? Zach ends up calling. So he calls her, lets her know that Kara got super emotional and she had to take a break. He's still at her house and he give it 20 more minutes and then he gonna leave. I said, how long have you been there? Because at this point, it seemed like Zach been at Kara's house for a solid 2 hours at least. Like, that's kind of long considering what's supposed to be happening there. But next thing you know, Deja is blasting music like she always do. And Madam is telling Fatima again, you need to handle that. Clearly, you don't have a grip on things. So Fatima and what Fatima and everybody they walk outside, and she knocks on Deja's door. So here goes Deja in her best Fashion Nova thought wear. Baby, she decided to really get big, bad, and bold and go off of Fatima. I mean, hooping and hollering about how they done rolled up on her in front of her spot. And they came to her front door. If they want to do something, they can do something. Blah, blah, blah. Baby, they are just letting her talk. And next thing you know, Madam taps her on the shoulder. And baby girl was frantic. Okay, she's like, Madam? Okay, I was like, this has sold me on watching All the King's Men. I didn't know if I wanted to watch the show, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch it, and I just might do a review for it because if this is how Madam is, it seems like it's pretty good. So, Madam is like, yeah, keep talking, keep telling her what you're gonna do, and all of that. Of course, Deja don't want to say nothing. So Madam actually asks her, so what have you heard about me? How do you know me? And she's like, oh, I just heard, that you don't play or whatever. She's like, yeah, I don't. I don't play about my money and I don't play about my blood. I was like, oh, okay. Y'all, Deja was definitely scared of Madam. Hell, I was too. Especially when she told her, I don't want to have to come back over here. As a matter of fact, I won't be coming back over here. She told her she was going to send somebody else and she was going to end up in a coffin, okay? If she keep playing with Fatima and even with Zach, okay? So I don't think that we're going to be having any more problems out of Deja. So she goes back in the house, and the ladies go back in so they can have more drinks. Now let's hop on over to Danny, who is entering her home, and who is with her? That man who she just went out with. And I'm just like, okay, so you are going to hook up with him? Girl, why? So they basically have small talk on her couch or whatever. And next thing you know, he was like, you show me yours and I'll show you mine. And I'm just like, ew. So, and not because, like, there's an issue with, like, them hooking up, honestly. Danny can do whatever she wants. But it's just so random. Like, Tyler, you had nothing else for Danny to do besides worry about Sabrina and not be able to do anything and then hook up with some random man. Okay, Tyler, whatever. So, she ends up making out with this guy and he's like, let me show you what I can do. Whatever. So we jump on over to Andy. She gives Danny a call to let her know that Fatima's cousin kind of hooked her up. So she's going to go see Sabrina tomorrow. And of course, Danny's like, well, I'm going to. You going to have to figure out a way to get me in the building, but I'm going to be there to see Sabrina. So I said, thank God we're finally going to see Sabrina. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen in the next episode or further down the line because we have not seen Sabrina in so many episodes, okay? So, Andy ended up hearing, the guy in the background. They get off the phone. Now, Paris, he ends up letting Andy know on a voicemail that, he met Robin and he asked him a lot of questions about her, just trying to give her a heads up of what's going on. So Andy gives Paris a call. And he lets her know that, he talked to Robin. Robin was asking him questions, asked if they ever dated. And he's like, I didn't tell that man nothing. I just said that I knew you from here, but it wasn't cool for him to question me like that. And I'm like, absolutely right. It was not right. No, it's one thing if this was like an HR issue and you have an HR person questioning if you know somebody or further, do you know them further than, being in a work environment? But yeah, Robin, what are you doing? So now you can definitely see on Andy's face that she's questioning everything, especially the reason why Robin called her and was like, I made a mistake, all this stuff. Like, Robin, you're definitely going to have to do a lot of explaining. Now let's hop back over to Karen's because baby girl is boo-hoo crying. Again, one thing that I can respect that there are real tears here. So yeah, like I said, she's boo-hooing in her mother's arms, but she decides that she's ready to finish this. So they go out there, and now they've moved over to sit over at the couches instead of at the table. And next thing you know, before she can even start, she's like, um, you know, Zach, this isn't a personal attack on you. And next thing we know, there's a knock at the door. Who is it? It's Fatima. Baby, I feel like Karen's mom was kind of confused as well as shocked that Fatima was as pretty as she was. Like, I don't know, her facial expression was kind of weird. But that is where the episode left off. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to y'all in the next review. Bye, guys.